This video is sponsored by Insta360. My cat is up to something. I don't know what, but I can see it in those beady little eyes of his, and I'm gonna find out. I've tried GPS tracking him, but I think he was onto me, so then I set up night vision cameras all over my garden, and this time I did discover something. Ralph had a secret best friend. We've since moved house though, and Ralph's now an indoor cat. He's made the switch remarkably well, and now has Bella to keep him company, my girlfriend's cat. Although calling them friends is maybe a bit of a stretch, they certainly keep each other entertained. But none of that changes the fact, he's definitely up to something. So this time I'm upping the surveillance and attaching a teeny tiny camera to Ralph himself. This is the Insta360 Go 2, and it really is a miracle camera. It's minuscule, weighing just 26 grams, meaning that I can happily attach it to Ralph's collar knowing it won't cause him any discomfort. The plan is to film him for 24 hours straight, and hopefully get a really fascinating insight into his secretive life. But you might be wondering, if Ralph's an indoor cat, what exactly am I hoping to capture? Well, a few things. Ralph spends long periods of time downstairs alone, and when I go down he's always stood up and looking suspicious. I want to know what mischief he's been up to. Plus, I want to find out what his relationship with Bella is really like. They run around the house together all night long, and we've never been really sure if it's playful or aggressive. They definitely act differently when I'm around, so I want to see how they behave when they think I'm not watching. Obviously, the camera's battery and storage won't last for 24 hours, so I have multiple cameras, and I'll be switching them throughout the day to clear their memory and charge them. But I think that's enough of an intro. It's currently midday, so let's start the clock. And my initial thoughts? This is mind-blowing. Obviously I'm a human about 5 or 6 times taller than Ralph, so it was truly amazing to see the world from his perspective. He can fit in all the small nooks and crannies I can't, and navigates the house in a completely different way, and it was so fascinating to watch. Fascinating and hilarious. Watching his fluffy little feet run up the stairs, watching how he checks a bed is clear before jumping up. It all just seems so comical. Not to mention seeing him eating and especially drinking. He takes a sip from the fountain, and then his bright pink tongue laps the air for the next few seconds. It was just so bizarre to see from his perspective. Ralph spent a good amount of the day sitting at the back door. He's a keen bird watcher, and from here has a perfect view of the feeders. We get so many birds that we have to refill them daily, and Ralph's obviously a pretty big fan of them. Then there were some not so delightful aspects, such as seeing him use a litter tray, but we can fast forward through that. Oh, and he constantly tried to eat my plants. I am aware he does this. I mean, it's impossible not to be when they're all covered in teeth marks, but he knows he's not supposed to. Don't worry though, none of them are poisonous to cats, and just listen to this sound. Isn't it glorious? Now, as well as being cat-sized, the Go 2 is an action camera, so I wanted to get Ralph playing. Although he's not the most playful cat in the world, I can usually tempt him with some string. It was marvellous to see his fluffy paws reaching out in front of him, and a perfect demonstration of the camera's incredible inbuilt stabilisation. It's also got a really cool feature called horizon levelling, where no matter how the camera's rotated, it will always film the right way up. But after playing for only a minute or so, Ralph got sleepy. Cats sleep between 16 and 20 hours a day, and Ralph's definitely on the upper end of that spectrum. And with the camera just filming bed and fluff, I used the opportunity to edit some of the footage. On the phone app, you can easily trim footage, apply effects, cut bits together, upload them, and more. It's a really fantastic tool. Or there's the desktop app, which has some slightly more advanced features. And on both, since the video actually films in 2688 by 2688 resolution, you can choose the aspect ratio after you've filmed without losing quality, which is amazing if you want to upload horizontally to YouTube as well as vertical video platforms. I should mention, being as remarkably small as it is, the Go 2 doesn't have any ports or an SD card, rather it comes with this funky little charging case which has them all instead. It also doubles as a mini tripod, which is pretty cool. So far, other than eating my plants, Ralph hadn't really got up to any mischief, and I was still no closer to figuring out what he was hiding, but maybe that would change as evening set in. By the time Ralph woke up around 6 PM, Bella was now awake too. Bella's a bit of a grumpy old lady. She's 12, and before meeting Ralph last year spent pretty much her whole adult life as an only cat. And she very much liked that lifestyle. But then Ralph came along, a 2-year-old ball of energy and fluff. He absolutely adores Bella, and just can't get the hint that she doesn't want to play. He'll constantly try to sleep close to her, or try to tempt her into playing, but she just wants to be left alone. That said, sometimes I think she actively enjoys tormenting him. One of her favourite activities is to sit in a doorway or at the top of the stairs, blocking Ralph from where he wants to go. He sits anxiously for a minute or two, and when he makes a move, she bops him. I'd like to say it's not serious, but judging by the footage, she does hiss pretty aggressively. Thankfully, she doesn't use her claws, and she'll even bop me or Danielle if we get too close when she doesn't want it. In her defense, Bella has some really sensitive skin at the moment which is bothering her, and it's why she's wearing the donut, a soft alternative to a normal cone. But despite all of this, Ralph is very persistent. He's like the annoying younger brother who always wants to play with your stuff, or returns your Xbox controller sticky and covered in crumbs. And yes, I did catch him eyeing up my Xbox. Luckily for Ralph though, he's got another best friend, me. Every evening I sit downstairs editing, and he jumps onto the arm of the chair and purrs, for hours. He's like the world's best armrest. And this brings me to my favourite part of the video. With the camera directly against Ralph's neck, his purring sounded incredible. And then I went to bed. I set an alarm hourly so I could swap the camera, but there would still be gaps in the footage. To hopefully counteract this, I set up motion-censored night vision cameras to film any potential funny business. Morning came with the familiar cacophony of hungry meows. I checked the footage from the night vision cameras, but they all appear to have been mysteriously deleted. I think they must be on the blink or something. The Go 2 mostly captured Ralph sleeping like an angel all night, or sitting on the windowsill illuminated only by the camera's flashing blue light, so maybe he doesn't have any deep dark secrets after all. But I did learn some really important things. Ralph's being bullied. He doesn't seem too affected by it, he's not scared of Bella and still constantly tries to befriend her. In all fairness to Bella, she's just trying to enjoy her golden years in peace, but maybe I'll slip Ralph some extra treats every once in a while. But the other realisation that really saddened me was just how much time Ralph spent by the back door, staring into the garden. It's been rainy and miserable for the last few months, but now it's clear he really wants to go outside. Unfortunately, it's just not safe where we currently live, but I don't want him to spend the summer cooped up indoors, so I'm going to build him a catio. I've also bought some cat grass, so hopefully that stops him eating my plants. Now like I said, this video is sponsored by Insta360, but regardless, the Go 2 really is a game changer. Imagine if I'd had it when we filmed the maze video. Imagine seeing that from Ralph's point of view. It's tiny and lightweight, the image is amazing, the stabilisation is amazing, and I love how I can watch it live on my phone. It's so cool. It's also waterproof, but the most it had to tolerate in this video was some cat dribble. It's available now from the link in the description, and expect to see a lot more of it, starting in a week or two when Ralph explores his catio for the very first time. Ralph and Tom, they're my favourite little pussycats. Bella too, she's my favourite loaf of bread. It started back with Reggie and his Golden Gate Bridge. Subscribe for all the wonderful adventures ahead.